Part 72. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shiyubuletin Chigwa. Chapter 715. Walked out of Jinho mansion. The one-armed ghost was still in a trance. Is this enough? Just agreed so easily? If, according to Her Royal Highness the Princess, the massacre of Xuanjiao City really had the promise of the Qing Emperor, or in other words, the mastermind behind the scenes was the Emperor, and King Pingnan was a tool to carry out the mission, then collecting Pingnan King doesn't the evidence of his crime mean that he is going against the Emperor? Think of this. The one-armed ghost's grimace showed a hint of decay. Even though his actions to establish justice and order were also against the royal family, his actions were just a small fight and were not even qualified to alarm the emperor. However, collecting the evidence of King Pingnan's massacre is indeed against the emperor. The civil and military officials of the Manchu dynasty are not fools. They all know that commanding a ghost-level prince must be inseparable from the order of the emperor of a country. This also means that on the day when the evidence of guilt is revealed, either the emperor will be removed from power, or all the insiders will die. As the eldest daughter of the emperor, why would Her Royal Highness do such a thing that is not good for the royal family and herself? Is it possible? The one-armed ghost had some disrespectful thought. Subsequently, he looked to the side again. Shen Jian, who was beaming with excitement as if he was excited, hesitated for a moment, and opened his mouth. Master Shen, are you coming with us? What? Is there any danger in Xuanjiao City? Shen Jian glanced at him. That's not true, but Mr. Shen, this incident is too important and has gone beyond the scope of our desire to maintain justice. If the facts are really as the eldest princess said, what is the use of collecting evidence? In terms of covering up Prince Li, Qing the emperor has already shown his arbitrary approach, and it does not seem to be a problem to protect another King Pingnan. That's why I need to go there, Shen Jian said calmly. The witness's words may be false and can be forged, but the picture deep in a ghost's memory cannot be forged. I only need to bring back the 5 immortals you mentioned, then that's irrefutable proof. But, isn't this forcing Emperor Qing to destroy us? That is a world-destroying ghost and god, the most terrifying existence in the Qing kingdom. The power of one of his ghosts is enough to rival half of the Qing kingdom. If the evidence of the crime is really revealed, come out, I'm worried that Emperor Qing will go completely crazy. Hear this. Shen Jian paused. The corners of his mouth slowly opened, revealing an excited smile. Isn't that good? If you do it in one step, you won't even have to seize the direct descendant. One-armed ghost? He was full of doubts, but looking at Shen Jian's abnormal expression, he trembled all over. He always felt that the former governor seemed to be too excited. As the one-armed ghost said. Shen Jian showed full enthusiasm in this matter. From learning the secret of Xuanjiao City to discussing with the eldest princess, and then heading to Xuanjiao City, it took no more than 3 hours. It can be said that the term soldiers are valuable and swift is taken to the extreme. At this time, he got on the carriage heading to Frosty Moon City. It was given as a gift by Her Royal Highness the Princess. The carriage is pulled by 2 ghost horses, and inside is a large space that can accommodate more than 10 people. Master Shen, at this speed, we can reach Xuanjiao City in less than half a day. In the car, the one-armed ghost said respectfully. Beside him, there was a one-eyed ghost with half an eye missing. Shen Jian looked at the other party. I heard that you know how to call the 5 immortals. The one-eyed ghost did not dare to be careless and sat upright and said, Yes, Lord Shen, I am a priest in Xuanjiao City, responsible for worshipping Lord Fox Immortal. I know how to call Lord Fox Immortal. Fox Fairy. You don't know, the 5 immortals are the characteristics of Xuanjiao City. They are the Fox Immortal, the Yellow Immortal, the White Immortal, the Evergreen Immortal, and the Grey Immortal. Each immortal has a different way of calling, and I am dedicated to serving the Fox Immortal. The priest is responsible for receiving the sacrifices sent by the people. The higher the level of the sacrifice, the different Lord Fox Immortals will be called out. It is said that the source of the 5 great immortals is each a ghost and god, but no one has ever called it out. Even the top 5 immortals at the level of Ghost Kings have no ability to call out. Shen Jian was thoughtful. He is truly the great immortal he is known to be. Think about it. Shen Jian asked, what are the sacrifices? Sir, I only know that the sacrifices required by Master Fox Fairy are ghost blood and a female ghost hand. The amount of ghost blood cannot be less than 1 bucket and cannot lose its activity. The female ghost hand must not have defects or pits. The one-eyed ghost explained. According to my experience, it takes at least 10 ghosts to fill a bucket of ghost blood. Of course, if it is squeezed clean, it only takes 4 to 5 ghosts to complete. However, the blood cannot be drained for more than 3 hours, otherwise although the inactivated blood can call out the Fox Immortal, the Fox Immortal will not answer your questions, but will make you suffer, and may even kill you. Generally speaking, Xuanjiao City serves as a ghost dealer, and you can buy the required sacrifices on the spot. But now, I am afraid that there will never be any ghosts in Xuanjiao City, so. Speaking of which, the one-eyed ghost's voice stopped abruptly. Shen Jian nodded slightly. Quite a weird way of shouting. 10 ghosts have 1 bucket of blood, which means that each ghost should put a part of it, just like drawing blood, an appropriate amount but not fatal. And 4 or 5 ghosts in a bucket, this is killing and bleeding. There is also a female ghost hand. The level of horror cannot be low, and the quality of the ghost hand cannot be too bad. Although the conditions are not harsh, if the request is too big, a low-level fox fairy will not be able to answer it. We can only try our best to improve the quality. And how can a high-quality ghost be slaughtered at will? Thinking. The one-eyed ghost hesitated again and again. He said again, Master Shen, the massacre of the city by King Pingnan is of great concern. Although the low-level Fox Immortal knows about it, he may not tell it. It is useless to ask. We need to find the kind of Fox Immortal who can make the decision. That is to say, at least you need to call out Lord Fox Immortal of the top Ghost King level. Hear this. The one-armed ghost also frowned. No one has ever called out the 5 great immortals at the top Ghost King level. This can only be achieved if at least all the sacrifices are at the top Ghost King level. How can we get so many top Ghost Kings? Shen Jian's eyes changed. No words were spoken. His mind has already been focused on the outside world. Woo-oh. At this time, a faint whimpering sounded from outside. It seemed like a girl was crying. The sound is very infectious. Let the one-armed ghost and one-eyed ghost on the carriage be attracted unconsciously. They opened the curtains. Glanced at the location. This place is close to Xuanjiao City. It is the only official road leading to Xuanjiao City. Where is the crying coming from? I seem to hear her paying homage to her relatives who died here. The one-armed ghost said doubtfully. Huh? That's not right. I heard her asking for help. Listen, she seemed to be saying that on the way to Xuanjiao City after trekking through mountains and rivers, her leg was accidentally bitten off by a wild beast. There was no one around. In order to survive, she had no choice but to keep eating your own flesh. One-armed ghost? He was a little stunned. Just the word woo-woo, do you hear so many meanings? Are you kidding me? Subconsciously. He retorted, you heard it wrong. She was clearly saying that her parents died here and she was offering sacrifices. The words have not yet finished. The one-armed ghost and the one-eyed ghost shivered. Look at each other. They all saw the coldness in each other's eyes. Damn it. Got hit. The cry just now was a medium. Once they hear it, it means that they have been attacked by supernatural beings without knowing it, and their minds have begun to imagine the tragic experience of the owner of this cry. If they listen for a while longer, they may not be able to restrain their inner pity and choose to help this poor person, thereby stepping into the trap. Think of this. The two of them look solemn. They are both abyss-level ghost kings, and they can be attacked without realizing it. There is no doubt that the owner of this cry is definitely a top ghost king. It's chaotic. Since Xuanjiao City was massacred, there are no restrictions on officialdom. The ghosts are dancing around. It's no longer safe. We will be in danger at any time. The one-armed ghost sighed. His eyes were a little dull. Seeing the prosperous Xuanjiao City reduced to a dead city and becoming chaotic and disorderly, he, the clerk who recorded the development of Xuanjiao City, felt very uncomfortable. It's like watching a child grow up, being taken away step by Huang Mao riding a will-o'-the-wisp, learning bad things, going to jail, and eventually contracting bad things and heading for destruction. This subtle mood made him increasingly melancholy. Even the impact of crying can no longer be heard. The one-eyed ghost patted the one-armed ghost on the shoulder, and when he was about to drive away from the area as quickly as possible, Shen Jian had already opened the curtain on the other side of the car and leaned out. "Who is crying? Come out quickly and let uncle comfort you," said. Shen Jian planned to jump off the carriage. One-armed ghost? One-eyed ghost? Both of them were confused. No. We are just abyss-level ghost kings, so we can still be justified in being affected. You, a big shot who broke into the palace and dragged Prince Li out like a dog, were you humming affected? It shouldn't be. Is there something wrong? Then, with quick eyes and quick hands, the two of them grabbed Shen Jian's clothes and said hurriedly, "Master Shen, this is a trap. How can there be a girl crying in a place like this? Yes, this ghost is trying to make us study and make up for her tragic experience through crying. Everyone's version is different, so it's fake at first sight. Hear this." Shen Jian looked back at the two of them. Face full of disappointment. In the face of a ghost who needs help, you just make malicious speculations like this? All I know is that she is crying now and she wants to help. So what if it is fake? At least let us know that there is one less person in the world who has the ability to help. Isn't this bad for ghosts who have had miserable experiences? Finished. Shen Jian was full of disgust. He looked ashamed to be in their company. Then, just jump out of the car. Gigi, Ba, don't be afraid, uncle is here to help you. See this scene. The one-armed and one-eyed ghosts in the car fell silent. There is a sense of déjà vu as someone is pointing fingers from a moral high ground. But then, there was a hint of admiration in their eyes. Master Shen is worthy of being the last justice of the Qing kingdom. He is a great and upright man. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 716. I was just thinking about where to go to trick some top ghost kings, but I didn't expect them to be delivered directly to my door. There was no hesitation. Shen Jian cast aside the personalities of the two one-armed ghosts and jumped out of the car. Following the sound, I quickly found the source of the crying. In the trees on one side of the official road, a little girl slump came into Shen Jian's eyes. There was a tattoo-like image on her arm, which was moving and looked very eye-catching. There was a hole in front of him, with several rows of sharp wooden stakes stuck upside down in it. The wooden stakes were dripping with blood, and there were also some pieces of unknown meat. The little girl wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and put lawn over the potholes. The movements were quick and skillful, as if they had been practiced countless times. While crying, she was ready for everything. Prepare your prey for the bait. However, while she was watching to see who would be lucky enough to take the bait, she suddenly caught a glimpse of a man's face emerging from the thick grass. Trap ghost. Grass. What a dirty thing, it scared me. The little girl was frightened. It's really scary to see a man's head suddenly appear in this deserted place. It almost made her scream. Take another closer look. It was not a head, but a man pulling at the grass and observing the situation on her side. This made the trapper's heart tremble. He wondered if what he had just done was seen. Is this the lucky guy attracted by her cries? The little girl's mind was a little confused. Because this person came too quickly. Although her crying has an infectious effect, it is not outstanding. As long as her moral quality is low, cold-blooded, and has nothing to do with herself, she can resist this supernatural erosion to a certain extent. In other words, most of the people who are really attracted here by her cries are good ghosts, or at least ghosts who maintain a certain degree of goodwill. But Shen Jian arrived too fast. It was almost as soon as she started crying. Otherwise, it wouldn't appear right next to the grass. This was the first time she had seen such speed. The trapper looked up. It seems that what was attracted this time was not only a good ghost, but also a kind of good person who sacrificed himself for others. That's why he came here so quickly. Think of this. She couldn't help but show some hesitation. Because Shen Jian is a good person, he would rush over to help her without thinking about anything because of her cry for help. But then I thought about it. Good people deserve to be held at gunpoint. He is so good, so if he feeds me, he has made a contribution. Immediately, the trap ghost sorted out his words and let out a cry of complaint. You brother, my mother is dead. My feet are hurt too. It hurts. The ghostly sound rang out. Shen Jian immediately processed the entire incident in his mind. The little girl followed her mother to Xuanjiao City. An accident happened on the way. Her mother passed away unfortunately. She was helpless and could only follow the place her mother had said before and walk step by step towards the agreed city. However, because there were too many officials, the little girl could only she was able to walk through the grass, but accidentally stepped on a trap. She was injured and had no choice but to ask for help here. Just a moment. Shen Jian automatically filled in the loopholes in the other party's words. And firmly believe in it. See this. A flash of light suddenly flashed in Shen Jian's eyes. This supernatural thing is a bit interesting. Although it can be regarded as saying something, it can be summed up in one sentence, but it can also be regarded as its inferior effect. What he said, even if he has never done it, can allow others to fill in the loopholes through brainstorming, and because he guessed it himself, unless there are any obvious logical problems, no one will doubt it. This is also similar to Taishan King's clerical ability, words of ghosts and gods. Just thinking about it like this made Shen Jian think of many ways to use it. Thinking. One-armed ghosts and one-eyed ghosts also came here. Being cast aside by Shen Jian in terms of personality gave them a strong sense of shame. Fortunately, they still claim to be just order and want to uphold justice. This kind of reckless behavior is really contrary to their ideas. No wonder Shen Jian was so disappointed. It was they who felt sorry for Shen Jian. So poor. Yes, it's so pitiful, Mr. Shen, let's help him. The two said in unison. At this time, Shen Jian came to his senses. He also sighed with emotion. Yes, it's so pitiful, little friend, uncle, let me tell you something happy. Said. Shen Jian stepped forward. Stepping through the trap on the lawn, instead of falling, it felt like it was flattened. Trap ghost? There was a bit of confusion in her eyes. Why don't you drop it? Not to mention an adult male, even a dog standing on top would fall into her trap due to weight issues. But this man came over on horseback. She can swear that Shen Jian is really a complete person. Even if he pursues innovation and empties the organs in his body, The weight of flesh, and blood alone is enough to trigger a trap. Unless this man is walking in human skin, there is no way he can come here unharmed. What's going on with this horse riding? Before the little girl could figure it out, Shen Jian had already stepped forward, patted her shoulder, and comforted her with sincere words. Don't cry, uncle will tell you something happy. Look, your mother is dead, can't you just have a big meal? One-armed ghost? One-eyed ghost? Trap ghost? Her crying stopped abruptly. He looked up at Shen Jian with a confused expression. A big meal? Are you humming talking about having a feast? Ganli Niangs. Look, are you speaking human language? For a while, the trap ghost didn't know what to say. The sadness she was brewing suddenly broke through her guard. After staying there for a while, she remembered to cry again. Oh, big brother, you can help me look at it, see how my mother died. I saw her falling over there, but I couldn't move, so I could only watch my mother die. Where she pointed, there was a trap. This is designed to prevent someone from running over from other places and not stepping into the trap. I didn't expect it to be useful so quickly. She still couldn't believe that this dog man could still be so lucky. The trap ghost gritted his teeth inwardly. But on the surface he was still crying. However, Shen Jian looked slightly startled. Ah! Do you have to find out the cause of the deceased's death now that you are eating? You city people are really good at playing, and you will not forget to use your remaining energy even after death. Trap ghost. The corners of her mouth twitched slightly, completely breaking the guard of the man in front of me. You really never leave the table without saying anything. He must have been reincarnated as a starving ghost in his previous life. And even if you want to eat, you have to help me clean up the body first. Do nothing, just wait with your mouth open? I bet you want to have sex for free. It's too hard to stretch. The one-armed and one-eyed ghosts on the side were also confused. A bunch of question marks flashed through the paper. They were still trying to recall what Shen Jian had said a few minutes ago. What did Master Shen say? Oh, I remembered it. It is to tell them not to ignore the situation and live up to their own conscience. Think of this. They looked at Shen Jian's behavior just now. Difficult to stretch. I always feel like something I hold onto inside my heart is broken at this moment. How dare you point fingers at us from the moral high ground? You are even more outrageous than us. The two of them looked dull on the outside, but they were already roaring inside. The other side. The trap ghost's pink little face looked a little distorted due to excessive anger. The malice is almost impossible to conceal. But she still told herself in her heart, hold back, wait until this bitch steps into the trap, and then slowly torture him. A psychological suggestion. The little girl showed that she didn't understand, and forced the topic back, saying grimly, brothers, if you are afraid, please take me with you. I want to see if my mother is still there. Shen Jian shook his head. There is no need to go to such trouble. Uncle only needs a moment to let you see your mother. Not only your mother, but also your 7 aunts, 8 aunts, grandparents can also see you. The whole family is neat and happy. The words fell. Shen Jian took out the 7-star demon sword. With this, dismemberment is quick, painless, and leaves no residue. Watch this scene. The trapper's eyes widened. Abba. You are a bit inhumane to a certain extent. Even if you lie to a child, you still want to dismember me. Your conscience may be eaten by dogs. Just thinking about it? Shen Jian had already said warmly, are you ready? Just tell your uncle when you are ready and he will come to help you right away. Trap ghost. Her expression changed greatly. His lips moved slightly and he roared, not yet. The words have not yet finished. The 7-star demonic sword in Shen Jian's hand had already been chopped down first. A head rolled down. In the head, a pair of eyes were wide open. Came the last bit of reaction. "You're such a bitch. Ask me if I'm ready, then chop before I can say anything, then you ask me like a hammer. When it comes to giving people hope and then leading to despair, you are the founder. Do it all." Shen Jian picked up the body. He glanced at the tattoo-like pattern on the little girl's wrist, turned around and asked, "Does this hand meet the standards of a fox fairy?" The one-eyed ghost didn't react for a long time. It wasn't until the one-armed ghost reminded me that I woke up from a dream, and swallowed my saliva and said, "It shouldn't work. Master Fox Fairy is very particular about the ghost hands that are needed. There can't be anything that damages the integrity of the hands, and tattoos are one of them." Shen Jian was slightly disappointed. "If it doesn't work, forget it. At least I have collected the blood of a ghost, and there is nothing but traps at that location. This means that the little girl lied. Her mother should still be alive. If the daughter is not good, there is also her mother as an alternative plan." He narrowed his eyes. Shen Jian turned and left. The duo of justice and order were left staring blankly. They looked at each other. They all saw the shock in each other's eyes. The one-armed ghost forcibly saluted Shen Jian. "Well, Mr. Shen used to be a night-wandering god. As you know, the night-wandering gods are a special group. It's not surprising that a person with a special hobby appears, but in general, Mr. Shen is indeed King Guo's conscience." One-eyed ghost. He followed. I questioned the last sentence a little. Conscience. Does Master Shen really have this thing? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chi Gua. Chapter 717. Following the direction pointed by the little girl, Shen Jian rushed over. This place is not far from Xuanjiao City, only a few kilometers away. While walking, the one-armed ghost said, "Master Shen, what are you looking for? We can do it for you." Shen Jian didn't even look back. "Find her mother and reunite them. As you saw just now, the little sister was crying and asking me to take her to find her mother. And I have always been soft-hearted, so I could only help her fulfill her last wish." One-eyed ghost. God's last wish. Aren't you the one who killed others who were doing well? Kill him and then help others fulfill their last wish. You know how to be soft-hearted. If this was considered soft-hearted, they couldn't imagine what Shen Jian looked like when he turned vicious. The one-eyed ghost looked at his companions next to him again, his eyes wandering around as if to say, "Conscience." One-armed ghost. He wiped the non-existent sweat from his face. Suddenly, I felt that it was a mistake to rush into Shen Jian without investigating his character. Fortunately, Shen Jian had no ill intentions towards them. Otherwise, their fate will definitely not be much better than that of the little girl just now. As for now, Tama has already boarded the pirate ship, so there is no reason to get off. Then, he saluted him again. Strong people all have such characteristics. The one-eyed ghost showed an expression of "I believe you are a ghost." Thinking. On the official road less than 500 meters away from Xuanjiao City, a figure ran quickly. It was a middle-aged woman, wearing a headscarf and wearing simple clothes. At this time, she was covering her wrists with a frightened look on her face, as if something was chasing her behind her. When she saw Shen Jian and others approaching, she showed a panicked expression. He quickly shouted, "Run away, there is something dirty, don't get close." While shouting, she raised her hand, wanting to warn the passers-by not to continue coming and to run away quickly. Shen Jian looked around. The middle-aged woman who was running towards her raised her hand and exposed her other injured wrist. The flesh and blood on her wrist were blurred, and a bottomless wound penetrated the entire arm, with white bones faintly visible. With such an appearance, such words, and the traces of wounds, anyone who sees it will preconceptionally believe that there is danger behind them, and will subconsciously follow the middle-aged woman's footsteps and run away. At least, one-armed ghosts and one-eyed ghosts have such impulses. Because they discovered that the middle-aged woman running towards them was also a top ghost king. The dirty thing that can make the top ghost kings suffer heavy losses and have to flee for their lives. It doesn't take much thinking to know that this is definitely an existence that they can't compete with. It's normal to have fearful thoughts. The reason why they did not take action was because they saw that Shen Jian had not given instructions yet. Master Shen, what are you looking at? Have you seen that dirty thing still chasing people? The one-armed ghost asked. I want to know what Shen Jian thinks. Several months have passed since the massacre. Today's Xuanjiao city is no longer as safe as they knew. Traces of evil ghosts can be seen everywhere on the road. Not a big deal, it's not surprising that he was attacked. I'm looking at it. The middle-aged woman's uninjured arm looks very standard. Shen Jian muttered. While talking, the middle-aged woman wearing a headscarf had already run in front of Shen Jian and the others, and said with fear on her face, "Didn't you hear just now? There was a terrible dirty thing behind. He was blocking the city gate and saw someone. He took the opportunity to attack me when he wanted to get in, and he chased me all the way and wanted to hack me to death. He was a lunatic. If he didn't escape, it would be too late." Hear this. The one-armed ghost subconsciously looked at Shen Jian. He saw the uneasiness of the middle-aged woman, and that kind of fear could not be imitated. Something must have happened in Xuanjiao city. Becoming weird. Even at the gate of the city, there was an inexplicable ghost guarding the city, massacring outsiders who tried to enter Xuanjiao city. Even the middle-aged woman who is the top ghost king cannot withstand her strength. At this time, Shen Jian lived up to expectations. He took a step forward and comforted, "Don't be afraid, madam, are you sure the other person wants to kill you? Is there a possibility that he is just bored and wants to interact with the outsiders passing by to show his kindness?" "Woman?" She was stunned for a moment. He glanced down at his nearly useless arm, then looked up at Shen Jian who looked serious, and subconsciously raised his bloody arm towards Shen Jian. As if to say, "Are you serious when you say this? Your family's way of showing affection is to chop the other person with a knife? Are you going to kill me if you are a brother? So if I hadn't run away at that time, would I have been hacked to death with 3 consecutive knives?" Grass. What you said is that you went to the mountains to dig bamboo shoots, and the bamboo shoots came home. Of course, it is also possible that you entered the city without a pass and he wanted to question you. Although the method may be a bit cruel, the original intention is good after all. It is also for the sake of the order of Xuanjiao city. You should be more generous. Shen Jian silently explained again. This time, it wasn't just the women who were stunned. Even the one-armed ghost behind him felt outrageous. God is really considering the order of Xuanjiao city. It's hard to say whether there is a population in Xuanjiao city now, so where is the problem of order? He also advised others to be generous. This is because the sickle didn't cut you, it's nonsense. Only then did they realize that Master Shen in front of them had a really damn bad character. They all wonder if Shen Jian has any supernatural ability that can absorb their resentment, otherwise how could he be so damaged? Immediately, he whispered in front of Shen Jian, "Master Shen, there is no such thing as a pass in Xuanjiao city. Unless it is a convoy of more than 100 people, you can come in when you want and go out when you want. In this regard, Xuanjiao city adheres to the principle of friendly exchanges." So, Shen Jian seemed to be stunned. "Woman." The corners of her mouth twitched slightly. "Right, that place is really dangerous now, especially that dirty guy guarding the city. He doesn't know when he will show up again, so I advise you not to go. It just so happens that I also plan to leave here, and there will be one more people are more powerful, so come with me. After listening, Shen Jian nodded, that's all we can do. An imperceptible sinister smile flashed across the middle-aged woman's face. Brother, let's go then. I'll pick up my daughter and then we'll leave here. Speaking of which, I am also a little worried about my daughter's condition. In order to explore the situation in Xuanjiao City, I put her on the roadside. I don't know if she encountered any danger. The woman's voice was plaintive. But I almost laughed out loud inside. I didn't expect that I would gain something like this before I left. Ever since she was attacked on the way into Xuanjiao City, she had given up the idea of entering this dangerous city. The appearance of Shen Jian and the others could be regarded as compensation for her inability to enter Xuanjiao City. And only 3 outsiders have come here after so long. It seems her daughter's side has gained even more. This method of fishing for law enforcement is really easy to use. Just thinking about it. She suddenly saw from the corner of her eye that when she finished her last sentence, the one-armed ghost and the one-eyed ghost trembled violently. His eyes became strange. What's wrong? Oh, that's right, have you seen my daughter? The middle-aged woman asked. Her daughter's supernatural power is best used to deceive good ghosts with good intentions, and the condition for activating the supernatural power is sound. Since these 3 people came from the official road, they have obviously heard her daughter's voice. However, judging from the results, none of these 3 people are good. Missed. She shouldn't know what her daughter did. I've seen it before. Does your daughter have a tattoo-like tattoo on her arm? Shen Jian said. Yeah. The middle-aged woman was a little confused. Have you really met her daughter? Then why are these people not dead yet? Logically speaking, meeting her daughter means that she has been tricked. The victim will choose to rescue her daughter out of pity, thus stepping into the supernatural trap set in advance, and then die. But it seemed that these people had not only seen her daughter, but also seemed to be fine. In a daze, Shen Jian had already taken out something from his body and put it in her hand. Auntie, come and see if it's this kind of tattoo. Woman? She looked down. That's an arm. On her arm, an image that looked like a tattoo came into view. Subconsciously, the middle-aged woman was surprised and said, This looks like the tattoo on my daughter's hand. Speaking of which, the word stopped abruptly. She took another careful look and muttered, Is it the same as my daughter's? The next second, the middle-aged woman's eyes immediately widened. Damn it! Something like her daughter's. Isn't this riding horse still her daughter's arm? You, a murderer of 1,000 cuts, how dare you kill my daughter? The middle-aged woman was furious. A grimace turned hideous and ferocious. I will use the most cruel method to torture you to death bit by bit. Vigorous yin qi waves surged from the woman's body. She roared angrily and immediately pinched Shen Jian. Laugh. A fierce sword light bloomed. The cold light is 10 miles away. One of the middle-aged woman's intact arms was dismembered. He was kicked away again. Immediately, Shen Jian picked up the fallen arm. He turned around and asked, How is the quality of this piece? It's fresh. Are you satisfied? One-eyed ghost. He didn't stop at all. Those who didn't know, thought we were trading some illegal items. You are too skilled at riding a horse. You have taken local materials to the extreme. But adhering to the principle of a priest, he still looked at the quality carefully, and then nodded, This one is okay. Even the pickiest fox fairy can't find any faults. Hear this. Shen Jian was also very satisfied. At present, the ghost hands calling for sacrifices to the fox fairy have gathered together. The next thing he needs is a bucket of ghost blood. According to the simplest method, he needs at least 4 top ghost kings to bleed. The one-armed ghost also thought about this problem. If you want to call out a top ghost king level fox fairy, you need to sacrifice all the top ghost kings, but it's hard to say whether there are anyone in Xuanjiao City now, let alone find a bunch of top ghost kings. Shen Jian said nothing. Just cut off the 7-star demonic sword in his hand. The middle-aged woman lost an arm and took this opportunity to escape several hundred meters. The moment the sword light fell, her head also rolled to the ground. 2. Shen Jian grinned. The smile looked very charming. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 718. Brutal. So damn cruel. After playing tricks on people, they kill them without mercy. This kind of behavior can be said to be quite bad. For those who didn't know better, they thought this middle-aged woman was human. Only when facing humans would ghosts play such painstaking and laborious tricks. As for the same kind, although they adhere to the philosophy of I am strong and I am reasonable, and you deserve to be bullied if you are weak, it is still quite rare to be as heartless and crazy as Shen Jian. But this is also in line with their view of the night travel god who likes to bully others. To this end, even though they couldn't bear it, they still pretended not to see it. There is nothing we can do. Our teammates are so cruel that we dare not raise any objections. Swallowing saliva. Shen Jian's voice has come. 2. A few more to go. Hear this. They lowered their heads and silently mourned for those of their kind who might appear later. I didn't kill Boran, but Boran died because of me. Subsequently, seeing that Shen Jian was already walking towards the city gate, they followed him. What do you think of the ghost that the ant said? Shen Jian asked casually. The one-armed ghost hesitated, then shook his head. According to the lady, this ghost has a very high level of terror, and will guard the city gate, trying to kill outsiders who enter Xuanjiao City, but there are hundreds of thousands of people in Xuanjiao City. They have already died, and it is impossible for any of the remaining people to be able to crush the top ghost king. Also, even if there are other survivors, I don't think anyone would dare to show up at such a critical moment. This is completely giving King Pingnan a chance to eliminate any flaws. He had no clue about the city guard ghost, but he knew that no one could be so stupid. To show off at such a critical moment would be to treat himself as a living target. He actually felt that this was probably a trap. It was a trap specially designed by King Pingnan to target the survivors of Xuanjiao City. Just waiting for someone to step in. The one-armed ghost expressed his guess. Shen Jian nodded slightly. I have an idea in mind. Soon. Shen Jian has arrived at the gate of Xuanjiao City. The door is open. At first glance, the streets were deserted. It's like an abandoned ghost town. The surroundings are very quiet. The city gate is obviously wide open, but it makes people feel that there is some savage beast inside, which is daunting. The one-armed ghost and the one-eyed ghost were about to persuade Shen Jian to find the city guarding ghost first. When he looked back, he saw Shen Jian's figure beside him. Look again. Shen Jian had already taken a big step and entered the city gate. See this. The two of them could only keep up. I want to cry but have no tears in my heart. Isn't it said that the night walkers are all a group of court eagle dogs who only act after sufficient evidence? Master Shen's behavior does not look like a scheming person who can take the position of a fourth-grade governor. Suddenly, the one-armed ghost's expression changed drastically, and his steps suddenly stopped. Because after stepping into the city gate, everything around him changed. He could clearly feel that he seemed to be isolated from the world, and even the majestic sound had disappeared. This is very abnormal. It felt like stepping into a trap carefully designed by the enemy and being completely isolated. First timing. He began to search for Shen Jian's location. After seeing that Shen Jian was there, he breathed a sigh of relief. The one-eyed ghost shrank and said, "When did Frosty Moon City still have a place like this? Is this a ghost realm? Then why didn't the woman just mention this? She wants to trick us even before she dies." No, the one-armed ghost denied this possibility. According to what the woman said, she was attacked only after entering the city gate. In other words, she entered Xuanjiao City normally, and she didn't know it at the time. She wants to trick us into following her because of our identities. There is no reason to make this up. I suspect that this is probably a trap set by King Pingnan, in order to let the escaped survivors fall into the trap. This ghost realm should be activated by people. Only the survivors with the label of Xuanjiao City on their bodies, only then will this supernatural power be triggered. Speaking of which, there was also a trace of paleness on the face of the one-armed ghost. This kind of supernatural power must not have existed within a week after Xuanjiao City was massacred. Because they also entered Xuanjiao City to investigate the situation. But when they came back again, there was a supernatural trap at the city gate targeting the survivors of Frost Moon City. He had reason to suspect that this supernatural trap was created after they exposed Prince Li's deeds. Because except for the survivors of Xuanjiao City, no one knew that Prince Li was involved in this matter. Because of this, Prince Li was exposed, making King Pingnan and even the Emperor realize that someone had escaped, and then they thought of setting a supernatural trap and waiting for them to fall into the trap. Think of this. The one-armed ghost felt a palpitation in his heart. Fortunately, he had already made up his mind to die and had to stay in the imperial capital to fight to the death. Otherwise, once he came back, there would be no return. "Master Shen, what should we do?" the one-armed ghost asked eagerly. Now that the supernatural trap is being triggered, the source behind it must have noticed all this. There is not much time left for them. They must leave here as soon as possible and invite the Fox Fairy out to complete their purpose this time. Otherwise, it would be difficult for them to enter Xuanjiao City after alerting the enemy. Shen Jian said nothing. "Look forward." The one-armed ghost also followed his gaze. Not far away, an identical Xuanjiao City gate stood on the plain. The walls were gray, with signs of decay and pits. At first glance, it can be seen that it has been baptized by the years. "One-armed ghost?" He was slightly startled. "What does it mean? Could it be said that you can walk out smoothly after crossing the city gate? This is too simple. Just thinking about it." The one-eyed ghost has already walked up. Just as he was about to step in, the wall suddenly began to vibrate violently. In front of everyone, it was forcibly raised a few centimeters, making it impossible for the one-eyed ghost's feet to step in. The one-eyed ghost didn't believe in evil and tried again. This time, he took a leap. However, just when he was about to jump out, the city gate was raised again. This time, the city gate was raised to 3 meters. There are walls all under the city gate, as if they have grown out of it. The one-eyed ghost who tried to jump over just hit the wall. "Sir, this wall doesn't seem to be dangerous. It's just meant to trap us." The one-eyed ghost summed it up and said. Although it is very rare for the wall to grow in such a supernatural way, it can be seen that the wall itself is not dangerous. This is a ghost realm like a cage. After listening, Shen Jian flew up out of thin air with great interest. But just like the one-eyed ghost's experiment, no matter how high he flies, the city gate will be raised to the same height, keeping him always below the height of the city gate. "See this?" Shen Jian fell down. "See this scene?" Both the one-armed ghost and the one-eyed ghost looked panicked. What is going on in this ghost land? Even Shen Jian couldn't do anything to him. Could it be set up by King Pingnan or the current emperor? Otherwise, how could we stop Shen Jian, who could even kill ghosts and gods? It's over now. If they don't get out of this ghost realm as soon as possible, their purpose this time will be completely defeated. by then. Not to mention collecting evidence of King Pingnan's crime, whether he can get out of Xuanjiao City alive is still a problem. Master Shen, is there really no solution to this ghost realm? The one-armed ghost refuses to give up and asks. He wanted to hear Shen Jian's reply. Who said there is no solution? Shen Jian gave him a strange look. Hear this. The two of them were shocked. Isn't it unsolvable? That's really great. Sir, do you know how to crack it? Roughly the same. Please enlighten me. The one-armed ghost was convinced and said curiously. Look, Lord Shen is indeed Lord Shen. He had just watched it for a long time and couldn't find any flaws. He only knew that no matter when he attacked, the city gate would rise to a height that they could do nothing about. Even if you use climbing, it will have no effect. Climb 1 meter and the wall will be 2 meters long. It was impossible to crawl out even if I was exhausted. Shen Jian said calmly, don't use your eyes to see and don't use your ears to listen. These can deceive people. The one-armed ghost was stunned. Fell into silence. Then he showed a look of realization. The one-eyed ghost on the side asked doubtfully, you know. The one-armed ghost nodded, his admiration flowing like a surging river. Of course, didn't Master Shen say that? Eyes, ears, and other organs can deceive people. This meaning is already obvious. The so-called city gate is a fake. Yes, the real exit is actually somewhere else. The one-eyed ghost realizes things in hindsight. Is that so? Then where is the real exit? Use your heart, feel it with your heart. The ghost realm can deceive people, but your intuition and judgment will not deceive you. I think this is what Mr. Shen means. The one-armed ghost looked like he hated iron, and pointed at his chest, his face full of emotion. Looking at Shen Jian, he seemed to be saying, Mr. Shen, do I understand what you mean? Shen Jian. His facial muscles twitched slightly. God feels it with all his heart. You're pretty good at figuring things out. Why didn't I notice this person flattering me before? He was so flattering and silent. You must be Xiao De number 2. Shen Jian resisted the tendency to complain. Adjusted his thoughts. What I'm saying is that your eyes and ears can deceive you. While talking, Shen Jian spread his fingers. The dazzling purple thunder turned into a solid plasma cannon and shot out with a bang. But, the truth in your hands will not. The words fell. Boom. With an earth-shattering explosion, the hard, indestructible city wall exploded at this moment. Stone chips were flying all over the sky. Wait for the smoke to clear. A large hole with a diameter of 10 meters was left on the city wall. Shen Jian stopped. Without even looking at the location of the city gate, he could only walk towards the big hole on the side. One span. We have arrived at the other side of the city gate. Then disappeared into this isolated ghost space. The one-eyed ghost silently glanced at the petrified one-armed ghost. Think about it. Make a gesture of caressing your chest. It turns out that this is all about feeling with your heart and learning. Say it. He also stepped over and disappeared here. One-armed ghost. He saw a strange look in his companion's eyes, as if saying to him, that's it? That's it? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 719. At this time, looking at the empty ghost space, the one-armed ghost felt ashamed. I wish I could crawl into the crack on the spot and turn myself into a maggot, crawling darkly in the crack. What the hell, why don't you play your cards according to the routine? What's the difference between this and being reckless when things happen? What a vulgar fool. With this thought, the one-armed ghost also quickly stepped over, not daring to be careless at all. If he was trapped again, he felt that with Shen Jian's style, he would probably not come in to rescue him again. Complaints are complaints, but the thighs still have to be hugged. Soon. His body swayed for a while. The one-armed ghost found that he had returned to the gate of Xuanjiao City, with Shenjian and the one-eyed ghost standing in front of him. However, at this time, the one-eyed ghost looked terrified, as if a disaster was imminent. He pointed forward tremblingly, unable to even speak. This made the one-armed ghost slightly stunned. Dilemma solved. With Master Shen here, they will not be in vain even if they encounter ghosts and gods. What is there to be afraid of in Xuanjiao City? Then he looked suddenly. I saw strange lines cracking out on both sides of the several-meter-thick city gate, which were numerous and mixed. Cold resentment kept pouring out, and soon filled the entire city gate. This monstrous resentment seemed to be alive, with sharp roars and the wails of all ghosts, constantly resounding in the small space. The speed of the gushing out was astonishingly fast. Just a moment. It had already wrapped the three of them, touched their skin, adhered to it, and could not be driven away. The one-armed ghost looked horrified. A pair of ghostly eyes revealed full terror. Such a huge resentment full of evil thoughts, this is, the resentment of the hundreds of thousands of people who were massacred in Xuanjiao City. No, this resentment is too terrifying. Once it is contaminated, it will make any ghost falling into the endless abyss, becoming an evil ghost possessed by the killing instinct. He shouted in shock and anger. I finally know where the city guarding ghost that the middle-aged woman mentioned before came from. I see. This is King Pingnan's killer move. If they don't have the ability to come out of the ghost realm, then everyone will be happy. But if they are able to get out of the ghost realm, it means they are likely to escape. Rather than doing this, it is better to deal with them here and then go back with the bodies. And the resentment of hundreds of thousands of people in Xuanjiao City is the most unsolvable must-kill. Even King Pingnan himself did not dare to stay under such overwhelming resentment, otherwise he would definitely be transformed into an evil ghost. And they? I found out too late. This moment. The one-armed ghost showed a desperate and helpless expression on his face. Because Shen Jian stood at the front and was the first person to be haunted by resentment. Judging from Shen Jian's actions of standing still and not hiding or evading, he has been eroded. Even ghosts and gods are extremely vulnerable in the face of the resentment caused by the death of hundreds of thousands of ghosts. Shen Jian, there is no hope. And they were either transformed into evil ghosts first and attacked Shen Jian, or Shen Jian sank first and became evil ghosts, and then crushed them to death. Besides, there is no other possibility. Luo Ji flashed across the one-armed ghost's expression. What a big joke it is to fight against King Guo. They didn't even see King Pingnan in person, and they were killed by the methods that the other party laid out a month or two ago. King Pingnan and the others couldn't deal with him, let alone the strongest man in Qing Kingdom, the legendary destroyer. Super Ghost. This is not a slap in the face. Well. The one-armed ghost sighed in annoyance. Staring directly at Shen Jian's back, he was ready to face death. But suddenly, he was stunned in place, his pupils dilated little by little, and he was shaking violently. I saw Shen Jian moving in front of him. Shen Jian, who he believed had been eroded by resentment and was about to turn into a demon, opened his mouth slightly. At once, the huge and mixed resentment was swallowed whole by Shen Jian, accompanied by Wang Gui's roar. One-armed ghost? One-eyed ghost? The two were stunned. He watched in confusion as Shen Jian sucked up all the resentment generated by the hundreds of thousands of ghosts in Xuanjiao City. Damn it! Just riding a horse is outrageous. Even if an ordinary ghost king gets a little bit of this resentment that is so solid that it turns red, he will be completely eroded by the resentment in his heart and become a real evil ghost. How come it's no different from sucking air to you? That's too much. What you are doing is giving us the illusion that I can do it if I want to. Wouldn't it be so easy? In such sluggishness. Shen Jian quickly absorbed all the resentment in the city. Close your mouth. Wai Wei commented, it's okay, it's ice cold, suitable for relieving the heat in summer. One-armed ghost. One-eyed ghost. They didn't hold back. Especially Shen Jian's comment on the grievances made them feel that they were just doing something trivial and there was really no danger in it. Ridiculous and permeating. The other side. Ignoring the shock of the two Justice Order members behind him, Shen Jian paused for a moment. After discovering that there really wasn't much he could do, he stepped into Xuanjiao City with some disappointment. In fact, the supernatural trap set by King Pingnan is indeed a killer. All possibilities are taken into consideration. These two traps were formulated. The former can ensure that they catch them alive, and the latter can ensure that they avoid future troubles. Unfortunately, King Pingnan never considered that someone could absorb the mixed resentment generated by hundreds of thousands of ghosts. Even Emperor Qing, a world-destroying ghost god, would probably not dare to try this option. But for Shen Jian, who has gathered the 10 palaces of Yama, this is just a trivial matter. As the king of hell, how could he be afraid of the resentment of the ghost after his death? Even this resentment left in his body can also trigger King Yama's divine ability, Senluo ghost energy. As long as there are ghosts around him, his attribute values will increase infinitely. The accumulated grievances of hundreds of thousands of ghosts in Xuanjiao City are a super large yin qi growth device for him. Shen Jian could already clearly feel that his yin qi was skyrocketing visibly to the naked eye. To this, Shen Jian nodded frequently. Since the yin qi value exceeded the ghosts and gods, he has rarely paid attention to this aspect. After all, according to the various ghosts and gods he has seen during this period, the normal total amount of ghosts and gods yin qi is 100,000. The number of world-destroying ghosts and gods has soared to more than 300,000. And this is still the threshold. So far, he has only seen 2 world-destroying ghosts and gods. One is a world-weary ghost and god in the entertainment city, with a total amount of yin qi of more than 350,000. One is the glorious ghost and god of Elim Temple, with a total amount of yin qi of more than 400,000. According to his estimation, the total amount of yin qi at the peak of the world-destroying level ghosts and gods should be around 500,000. And Shen Jian glanced at his own panel properties. Yin qi, 150,000. Unless he soaks in the tide of millions of ghosts for several months, it will take a long time for the total yin qi value to exceed 300,000. But the resentment he just breathed in gave him a new direction. He can't keep tens of thousands of ghosts around him at all times, but he can inhale tens of thousands of resentment, preferably the kind of high-quality resentment that has just died, filled with resentment, and seen the ghosts wailing. In this case, it is equivalent to following a large group of ghosts around you, which can greatly increase the growth rate of yin qi. Thinking, Shen Jian set his sights on this deserted city. Feel it carefully. Then he raised his eyebrows. Is there something wrong, my lord? Notice the surprise in Shen Jian's expression. The one-armed ghost asked curiously. No, but this city is not as desolate as you think. There are still people. Is there anyone? Both of them were stunned. His expression couldn't help but condense. What a joke. Whoever comes to this overwhelming resentment will die. How could anyone get in alive? But then I thought about it. This is a trap aimed at the survivors of Frost Moon City, and it may not necessarily be effective on outsiders. In other words, in the eyes of outsiders who try to enter Xuanjiao City is simply undefended and can be entered at will. This is a good thing. In this case, the remaining sacrifices can be collected. The one-eyed ghost muttered. Shen Jian also smiled. Turn around and walk in one direction. The other 2 people saw this. He quickly followed him. At the same time, In a dark room, 2 men, 1 woman, and 3 ghosts were busy cleaning up the scene. There is a bucket of ghost blood placed not far away. There is still residual heat. Apparently the bleeding didn't take long. Among the 3 people, a muscular male ghost said in a low voice, "It's almost done. I searched all over Xuanjiao City and finally managed to get a bucket of ghost blood. I don't know if the Fox Fairy will accept this kind of mixed blood." A thin man with a tumor on his neck said helplessly, "There is no way. Who would have thought that the news of Xuanjiao City being destroyed is true? It's also our fault that we didn't prepare in advance before coming. What could have been done in a day or 2 was hard. It has been delayed for several months, and those ghosts who are still in Xuanjiao City are now human beings, and they are afraid of becoming someone else's sacrifice. What's the use of saying all this? The most urgent task now is to find a way to leave the city through the Fox Ferry, otherwise we will be completely trapped here." The only female ghost among the 3 people spoke. She had a scar on her face and looked very sinister. Her tone also sounded like she was extremely unlucky. Immediately afterwards, the eyes of the other 2 ghosts fell on the scar-faced female ghost at the same time, or rather, on her arms. "Sister, don't worry. When we summon the Fox Immortal and find a way to leave here, we will ask the Fox Immortal where there are supernatural places such as the inheritance of ghosts and gods. At that time, we will give you an extra 10%. The muscle ghost slaps his chest and promises. A dark look flashed across his face. So far, except for the female ghost in front of them, there are no female ghosts in Xuanjiao City. In other words, only they can call the Fox Fairy. But this female ghost is also at the top level of a ghost king, and they can't beat her. They can only form an alliance temporarily and escape together. The key now is the ghost hand of this female ghost. Without ghost hands, even if they gathered ghost blood, it would be useless. Remember what you said." The scar-faced female ghost glanced at her arm and gritted her teeth. "After this dismemberment, don't even think about having a complete ghost body in the future. But right now, escaping Xuanjiao City is the key." Moment. The female ghost finally made up her mind. When he was about to dismember his left arm, an obscure voice suddenly came from the darkness. "It's time to play, buddy. Do you want to take me with you? I can help you participate in the game." The words fell. In the dark, a hand was placed on the shoulder of the scar-faced female ghost, revealing the outline of a person. The voice sounded eager. Everyone exploded violently. This place has been shrouded in ghost territory by them. How did this person get in? In horror, they looked at each other. In the darkness behind the scar-faced female ghost, I saw a man with black hair and black eyes, a ghost rope tied to his wrist, and a ghost arm in his hand, showing an unexplained expression of excitement. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 720. Inside the room. Seeing the sudden appearance of Shen Jian, everyone felt numb. Until Shen Jian spoke up, none of them noticed that there was a stranger in the room. This could only show that this man possessed a very special ghost realm. Can easily invade their private areas. As for the high level of terror, they have thought about this possibility, but it is unrealistic. The 3 of them are already the ceiling of Xuanjiao City so far. The top ghost king among all members. And it is still infinitely close to the level of ghosts and gods. Otherwise, they wouldn't be able to collect a bucket of ghost blood. If you want to rely on the level of terror to forcefully break into their ghost domain without being noticed, even ghosts and gods of the level of King Pingnan cannot do it. In the entire Qing kingdom, there is probably only one Qing who can do this. Emperor. Is this man Emperor Cheng? It's impossible when you think about it. Because of this, they ruled it out. The only thing I can think of is some special type of ghost realm. Certainly. The opponent's terror level will not be low either. At least they are on the same level as them. Think of this. The three people immediately restrained their thoughts. The muscle ghost said, "Friend, you also came to Xuanjiao City to call the Fox Fairy. Even the sacrifices have been prepared in advance. In this case, I will add you." "That's right, it's more lively when there are more people," Shen Jian said with a smile. "Throw away the ghost hand in your hand." This time, all three ghosts are confirmed. Shen Jian is indeed on the same level as them. Otherwise, you won't be able to get a top Ghost King level ghost hand. The muscle ghost's face became a little darker. But he didn't say much. Instead, they are preparing for the ceremony of calling out the Fox Fairy. First, pour the ghost blood into a special inkstand. The inkstand is very large, several meters long. The ghost blood flows on the inkstand, giving off a scarlet luster. Subsequently, grab the ghost hand and place it in the center of the grinding table. Instantly, the flowing ghost blood suddenly had a target. As if it was alive, it climbed onto the ghost hand in defiance of gravity and penetrated inside. Rows of traces similar to runes appeared on the pale ghost hand. This was repeated 3 times, and finally the bucket of ghost blood was exhausted. At this time, only 1/3 of the thick blood was left on the ink table, as well as a ghost hand decorated with scarlet. Quickly, soak it in blood and press your mark on the ink platform, so that the Fox Fairy will recognize you as a person participating in the ceremony and choose to answer the questions there. The muscle ghost showed a look of ecstasy on his face. He dipped his thumb into the blood and pressed his own bloody handprint on the inkstand that was free of blood. The bloody handprint automatically expanded and turned into a blood bead, which merged into the ghost's hand. "See this?" Others followed suit. Shen Jian also repeated this process with some interest. The muscle ghost's voice sounded again, "You should all know the rules of the Fox Fairy. Each person can only ask 3 questions. The first one is your personal question. You can silently ask the Fox Fairy to give the answer, but the second and third questions are yours. This must be said, so that Fox Fairy can give a specific answer. Also, don't violate the taboo and don't ask about matters related to the Fox Fairy, otherwise everyone will be killed." The words fell. Shen Jian saw it. The 5 fingers on the ghost's hand moved one after another. He heard the one-eyed ghost say that when the ghost hands moved one after another, it meant that the Fox Fairy had taken over the ghost hand, and a mysterious supernatural force had quietly enveloped this place. It also means that you can start asking. The muscle ghost couldn't wait to mutter a question silently. The ghost hand on the ink table moved immediately. "Write a few words out of thin air." 3 seconds later, the bloody words disappeared. The muscle ghost's sinister face covered with muscles also showed a ferocious smile. Apparently, the answer written by the Fox Fairy was quite satisfactory to him. The other 2 people also asked questions they wanted to know. The ghost hand touched the ink again and wrote bloody words in the air. Subsequently, everyone's eyes fell on Shen Jian. Fox Fairy answers questions in order. If Shen Jian doesn't ask, it won't be the next one's turn. Think about it. Shen Jian pondered a question in his heart. Immediately afterwards, the ghost hand on the ink table was about to raise, but suddenly stopped. A word of blood appeared. This does not seem like the answer to the question, but rather like the Fox Fairy expressing doubts. But the next second, the ghost hand still moved. It started to spin crazily on the ink table, causing the blood to surge and form a vortex. Then it spun faster and faster, unable to stop at all. Muscle ghost? Slender ghost? Scarface? The 3 of them were stunned. He looked at Shen Jian in astonishment. It looked like the fox fairy was crazy. What question did this man who suddenly appeared ask that caused the fox fairy to behave like this? What's going on? What taboo questions did you ask? The questions in the first 2 rounds can't be too difficult. Don't you know this? If the fox fairy goes crazy, we will all die. The muscle ghost said with a dark expression. Others also looked at Shen Jian with ugly expressions. Asking for help from the fox fairy was their only chance to escape Xuanjiao City. If the fox fairy went crazy, everything would be over. They don't get a second chance to call the fox fairy. Faced with these questioning glances, Shen Jian ignored them at all. Instead, he said with relish, I just asked her which one has a faster speed compared with the egg beater. She is competing with herself. If she has to win, what do I have? Method. Muscle ghost. Grass. God, compare the speed with the egg beater. You are such a humming genius, you just wasted one of 3 questions. Even the God of creation is not as good as you. Okay, I admit that you spin faster than the egg beater, you can stop. Shen Jian waved his hand. Only then did the ghost hand stop. Write a line of blood words in the air. It doesn't bother me. The corners of the 3 people's mouths twitched slightly. It spins faster than an egg beater. You seem quite proud of it. This fox fairy must have a crazy brain. They are messy inside. But I still collected my thoughts and started to ask the second question. Starting with this question, those involved in the ceremony must ask it themselves. Muscle Ghost took the lead and said, where is the greatest danger in the city? Hear the question. The other 2 people also stared intently. Xuanjiao City was massacred, and now you can only enter but not leave. Even a fool should know that the longer you stay here, the more dangerous it becomes. If they want to escape from here, they must avoid the greatest danger. Ghost Hand paused for a few seconds. Then he stretched out his hand and pointed at Shen Jian. This time, the expressions of everyone in the audience changed drastically. The biggest danger in the city is Shen Jian? Just sit next to them. Damn it! Not so unlucky. Isn't he the special point of the ghost world? Why was he marked as the most dangerous by the fox fairy? Could he be more dangerous than the force behind the massacre of Xuanjiao City? Maybe there was a mistake. I'll ask again. The Thing Ghost couldn't help but say. He glanced at Shen Jian secretly from the corner of his eye and moved a little unconsciously. Yes, this brother is so kind. How could he have anything to do with danger? The question must have been asked in a general way. The scar-faced female ghost also swallowed her saliva. Regardless of whether the fox fairy was malfunctioning or not, something was definitely wrong with this man who appeared inexplicably. If it hadn't failed, the problem would have been even bigger. The biggest danger in Xuanjiao City is sitting with them. If this happens, one of the 3 of them will be left behind. It's better to stabilize him first. Then, before Shen Jian could speak, the second-rank skinny ghost had already asked. Where is the most vicious ghost in Frost Moon City? Point it out specifically. Soon. The ghost hand moved again. Under the horrified eyes of everyone, the ghost hand pointed at Shen Jian again. And left a line of blood words in the air. He was stained with the resentment of 500,000 ghosts. As soon as these words came out, the breathing on the field froze. The 3 ghost eyes stared straight. My heart contracted suddenly, and my brain felt blank for a while. Their eyes stared blankly at the dissipated blood words. The resentment of 500,000 ghosts? What is this special concept? The entire Xuanjiao city has a population of only around 200,000. It is already one of the largest cities in Qingguo. If it were an ordinary small town, it would be lucky to have a population of 30,000 to 50,000. In other words, this man with a smile on his face was equivalent to slaughtering 10 small cities. Even big cities like Xuanjiao City were destroyed at least too. What kind of devil is this horse rider? No matter how ferocious the evil ghost is, it may not be possible to kill hundreds of thousands of ghosts in 100 years, right? This moment, the three ghosts on the field were all panicked. All the souls of the dead are gone. Even as a top ghost king, he could not give them a sense of security at this moment. They want to escape. The further away you can escape, the better. Stay away from this man completely. The other side. Shen Jian couldn't help but raise his eyebrows. 500,000 ghosts? He only remembered that during the supernatural incident in Nanlin province, 200,000 to 300,000 ghosts were killed. Does this mean that the massacre of Xuanjiao City was also placed on him? Shen Jian thought quickly. The fox fairy probably took into account the resentment he had just absorbed. Then, Shen Jian said, "Do you believe me? Or do you believe in a fox fairy who doesn't even show his face?" Group of ghosts. When you ask this, do you mean that you don't have any confidence in yourself, or do you think we are mentally deficient? Keep asking, I still have questions. Shen Jian urged. See this scene. The scar-faced female ghost bravely asked. Who among the people in the field has the most ill will toward us? She suddenly thought that if Shen Jian was really so scary, he might not be interested in them. As long as the fox fairy can give a specific answer, they can pretend that nothing has happened. Immediately afterwards, Ghost Hand paused for a while. Pointed at Shen Jian again. However, the second the Ghost Hand was raised and aimed, Shen Jian cursed and stood up. A sword slashed the ghost's hand. Mad, are you falsely accusing me of my innocence? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yubuletin Chigua. Chapter 721. This time, the three of them were really panicked. Although the Fox Immortal has pointed out the most dangerous person here and made it clear that Shen has the resentment of 500,000 ghosts in his body, for them, palpitations are greater than fear. After all, how could such a terrifying existence be interested in these top ghost kings? However, now the Fox Fairy gave a clear explanation. Shen Jian is not only the most dangerous existence in Xuanjiao City at the moment, but also has great malice towards them. The reason why is huge. Naturally, it's because they each have their own plans, and the same evil thoughts breed. But Fox Fairy still pointed out that Shen Jian was the most malicious among them. This maliciousness was so great that it showed that Shen Jian would never let them go. Too old. You, a big shot who killed 500,000 ghosts, why do you have any ill intentions towards us little minions? We have not offended you, you are too special. The other side. Shen Jian also stood up cursing. He took out the 7-star demon sword. One sword hit the ghost's hand. The look in his eyes was very dangerous. What the hell, how dare you frame him, a good man of the Qing dynasty? Shen Jian's face was expressionless. I felt it was not enough, so I chopped a few more times. The ghost hand was dismembered into 5, 6, 7, or 8 pieces. But the dismembered finger still wrote some bloody words on the inkstand. Why don't you let me tell the truth? This time, Shen Jian kicked the ink table over directly. The ceremony was lifted. Then he turned around and focused his gaze on the three ghosts who had shrunk into the corner. At this time, they appear weak and helpless. Sorry, this fox spirit must have drunk fake wine just now, and now he started talking nonsense. You shouldn't take it to heart, right? Shen Jian said with a smile. He showed a kind expression. Three ghosts. Looking at this scene, they felt like crying inside. I just felt that my back molars were vibrating. Edi Niang, look at what you have done, are you at all convincing? We were still dubious at first, but now, we believe it. Interrupting the fox fairy ritual can be fatal. Not only will the fox fairy be furious after being shouted out, but it will even call for outside help to kill those who disrupt the ritual. For them, let alone interrupting the fox fairy's ritual, it was already an astonishing thing to be able to dismember the ghost hand controlled by the fox fairy so easily. The three of them didn't speak. Shen Jian was not embarrassed either. Lock the door. You choose, do you believe that I am the Emperor of Qing, or do you believe what the fox fairy says? Thump. The muscle ghost's knees softened and he knelt down directly. Your Majesty, thank you for your hard work on this private visit incognito. Slender Ghost? Scarface? The two of them stared blankly at the muscular man who knelt down to welcome His Majesty. No. That's it? Among us, you are the most capable of fighting due to your size. I didn't expect that you would be the first to change your tune. How could this man be the Emperor of Qing? If he were Emperor Qing, we would, kneel down too. Thump. Two more sounds. Your Majesty, Holy An. The muscular ghost lowered his head and looked at the other two people who were kneeling with the same contempt. To this, Shen Jian ignored it. Instead, he waved his hands and said, very well, be sensible. Let's go and bleed. I want to call out to the fox fairy again. Whose release? The skinny kid asked subconsciously. Shen Jian looked over with strange eyes. What do you think? Brother, the blood of the three of us alone is not enough. Even if we drain it, we still can't make up a bucket. Muscle Ghost wants to cry but has no tear duct. At this time, he no longer had any calculations in his heart. The only thought is to survive. The words fell. Shen Jian casually threw away the two corpses. One big and one small, they are a mother and daughter. The level of terror is also at the top Ghost King level. See this. The three of them didn't know that Shen Jian was about to call out to the top Ghost King level fox fairy. That was what they were thinking 5 seconds ago. 5 seconds later, their minds changed. Because they watched helplessly, after throwing out the corpses of the two top Ghost Kings, Shen Tiankai opened another bloody vortex. In the whirlpool, blazing heat and screams coexisted. It is the Blood River Hell. In the Blood River Hell, there are also several ghosts and gods who were imprisoned in this hell during the supernatural incidents in Nanlin province. He didn't want to call the fox fairy at the top Ghost King level, but the ghost and god level. To this end, he asked several ghosts and gods in the Blood River Hell to contribute 1/3 of their ghost blood, including world-weary ghosts and gods. He still didn't believe that the blood of a world-destroying ghost god couldn't attract this legendary ghost god level fox fairy. In process, the three muscle ghosts were frightened. This is real? Is this horse riding real? What did they see? The four ghosts and gods were imprisoned in an unknown space. They seemed to be being punished. Think of this. Their worldview almost collapsed. Thunder was rolling in my mind, setting off huge waves. Four ghosts and gods are imprisoned. What is the concept? There have never been ghost-level beings in the death row of Kingguo's prisons. There are no rumors that ghosts and gods will be caught. This is simply a fantasy. That was a legendary ghost and god. How could he show such a painful expression and scream so miserably? Who is this man? How did he do all this? Just thinking about it? Shen Jian's voice has already sounded. What are you doing standing there in a daze? Oh, right, you don't have any tools in your hands. Take this and chop with force. Shen Jian handed over the 7-star demon sword. While talking, he promoted, this sword is very miraculous. If it cuts a human body with one sword, there will be absolutely no pain. The muscular ghost who was the leader among the three took the sword with trembling hands and said weakly, what if I kill the ghost? Shen Jian thought for a while and explained seriously, then it depends on where to chop. If you chop it on the arm, you will break one hand. If you chop it on the leg, you will break the leg. If you chop it on the neck, then the left side will be broken one piece on the right. The ghosts were startled at first. Then the corners of his mouth twitched up, with a look of pain on his face. God has one piece on the left and one on the right. It's really like listening to your words. They weighed themselves, looked at the ancient swords in their hands, gritted their teeth, opened their arms, and let the ghost blood pour onto the bucket. Not long after, with the ghost blood contributed by the 9 ghosts, a bucket of sacrifices is ready. As for the female ghost hand, Shenjian dismembered the flower demon's arm. Now that he had decided to call the ghost level fox immortal, Shenjian naturally made such a mistake. At the same time, the muscle ghost prepared with trembling fear the ritual of calling out the fox fairy. The blood of 4 ghosts and gods, the blood of 5 top ghost kings, plus a ghost level ghost hand, he really couldn't imagine what this would call out. Especially the faceless female ghost among the 4 ghosts and gods. The color of the ghost blood is so special. It turned out to be gray-red. He could clearly see that ever since the female ghost's blood was integrated into it, the color of the blood had always been this abnormal gray-red color. The only thing he could think of was that this female ghost was very special. The level of terror might be the highest among the 4 ghosts, and she was probably very close to being a world-destroying ghost. This can explain why the other party's blood is this color. He had never seen such a luxurious sacrifice in his life. Could it be that what he wanted to call was not the top ghost king level fox fairy, but the ghost god level? Isn't this a legend? He still remembered that this legend also came from the fox fairy. Someone once asked what the highest level of fox immortal was. The answer is, ghosts and gods. Although the person who asked the question died in the next second because he violated the taboo, the news was still retained. Only. Not to mention the ghost and god level, no one in Xuanjiao City has even called for the top ghost king level fox fairy. Is it possible that he wants to witness the authenticity of this rumor today? With this thought, Muscle Ghost quickly completed the ritual. The process is the same as before. A large amount of gray-red ghost blood blended into the ghost's hand, causing the ghost's hand to climb up with dense lines, making it look very scary. Immediately afterwards, something happened. Inside the room, the ceiling began to bleed, and blood continued to pour out of the ground. Even the light was dim and swaying crazily, as if some terrifying existence had quietly arrived here. The noise is getting louder and louder. The next second, above the ghost hand, the blood gathered into a figure, with 6 long blood-like tails sweeping behind it. "Give it to me, I want more." Blood gathered into words, telling his hunger and thirst. Then, Ghost Hand left the ritual place and rushed towards Shenjian. The reflected figure of the Vulpix also rushed towards it. That way, it was like a resentful woman who had been hungry for more than 10 years and suddenly found someone who matched her compatibility. After trying it once, she started squeezing it like crazy. This sudden scene left no one reacting. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 722. This sudden scene made everyone present unable to react. Seeing Gashao leaving the ink platform and starting to act on his own, the 3 people on the field were shocked. The fox spirit actually left the ritual place and a riot broke out. This is a scene that has never happened before. The 5 great immortals of Xuanjiao City are famous far and wide. Although the calling ceremony is only in the hands of a few people are unaware of the relevant specific precautions. But among them, there is absolutely no remedial work on the Fox Fairy's rampage. The ghost-level Fox Fairy actually exists. It's over. Did this violate some taboo of this Fox Fairy? Muscle Ghost muttered. His pupils were even wider. I felt fear deep in my heart and had goosebumps all over my body. Because he could tell that the mental state of this fox fairy seemed not right, as if he was going crazy, giving people a sense of inability to communicate and chaos. Why do I feel like this fox fairy is in heat? The scar-faced female ghost also muttered to herself. There is an indescribable weird feeling in my heart. But he still stepped back very conscientiously, sticking to the wall, deliberately reducing his sense of presence, for fear that he would be affected by the sudden arrival of the ghost-level fox fairy. Only Shen Jian had an excited smile on his face. GGG, fox fairy, right? I also have a nickname, called Stick Fairy. Said. Shen Jian took out a black steel rod. The faces of several people watching twitched. God is so awesome. There is no such fairy in this world. Are you sure you didn't make it up yourself? And that's a ghost after all. Brother, please be serious. Our lives are in your hands. If we lose, others will get the feast and we will get the dirt. Shen Jian didn't care about what other people thought. At this moment, there seemed to be light in his eyes. The black steel rod is a ghost weapon specifically designed to target resentment, and has a critical hit effect on incorporeal ghosts. The fox fairy in front of him was clearly this type of ghost. The other party has no entity. It is a special life form formed by pure resentment and resentment. It cannot appear in the horror world on its own and can only come here temporarily through parasitism. In terms of rarity, it is even rarer than species such as snow girls and zombies. He wants this ghost. Think of this. Shen Jian raised the steel rod and swung it towards the fox fairy. Ah! In a roar that didn't sound like a ghost's voice, the ghost's hand was smashed off the head. The reflected six-tailed fox fairy was holding his head and wailing in pain, his expression becoming more and more distorted. The spatial layout of the entire room was changing. The blood dripping from the ceiling became more and more obvious, and the blood surging on the ground had already become more obvious. It is 3 centimeters thick. It began to flood the entire room, trying to pull everything here into another unknown world. Shen Jian looked as usual. Another blow of the stick sent it flying. His eyes seemed to say, I'll give you a few more sticks to see if you still get mad. Fox fairy. See this. The ghost hands underground moved cautiously, as if they wanted to distance themselves and get out of the attack range. Shen Jian glanced at it. Another stick hit him. This fox fairy is not too scary. Although she has the strength of a ghost and a god and can pose a fatal threat to ghosts below the ghost and god, she is very weak at the ghost and god level. Because the other party seems to have no supernatural powers to use. The power just now was entirely due to the ghostly coercion of the ghost hand itself. But when he considers that his purpose is to collect, it doesn't matter whether he is strong or not. Then Shen Jian put away that bit of disdain. Then he squatted down and pressed the steel rod on the ghost's hand. In the reflection of the blood all over the wall, a 6-tailed fox fairy was lying on the ground with all 4 limbs on the ground, its back was pressed by the shadow of a stick. Its hands and feet kept struggling, but it was unable to move at all. Asshole, you dare to hit me, you will be punished, and your bad luck will come soon. A line of blood words appeared in front of Shen Jian out of thin air. It was like a hoarse roar, telling her dissatisfaction. Is this your last bit of stubbornness? Shen Jian raised his eyebrows. He has seen many cruel words, but this is the first time he has seen such harmless words. How lethal can harsh words without even a genealogy be? If you put it in the quality area, you might not even be able to save your parents. Asshole, you bastard. The fox fairy spoke up again. Over and over again, I kept repeating this curse word. At this time, the muscular ghost suddenly said weakly, Sir, he may not be scolding you, but you really have bad luck. Shen Jian was startled. Tell me and listen. It's like this. I've heard that according to human sayings, the fox fairy is the darling of the supernatural land. Once someone dares to disrespect the fox fairy, unknown supernatural powers will be triggered, which will lead to bad luck. If you kill the fox, immortals will cause all kinds of disasters and risk death. Although this rumor has not been confirmed, everyone believes it, because the fox fairy is too omniscient and omnipotent. It is not an exaggeration to say that she is God's favorite. It is normal to be unlucky to kill such a being. Sir, although you didn't kill her, you still beat her. She may have bad luck in the future. This may not be a harsh word. After listening, the strange color in Shen Jian's eyes deepened. God's beloved? This place is within the Qing kingdom and belongs to Zhou Yin Tian Palace. The so-called heaven also refers to Luo Fengtian. Could it be that Luo Fengtian's beloved son is related to Luo Fengtian's spiritual spirit? Shen Jian thought of parchment. The parchment comes from the third place, Luo Fengtian, and carries a trace of the true spirit of the Taisha Liangxi sect heavenly palace, possessing the supernatural power of predicting the future. The fox fairy in front of them knew astronomy and geography. In the eyes of the people of Xuanjiao City, he was simply an omniscient being. He could give an answer to everything from finding people to treasures. This kind of ability has gone beyond the scope of normal supernatural powers. But if you have the true spiritual aura of Zhou Yin Tian Palace, then everything will make sense. Think of this possibility. Shen Jian's eyes moved slightly. Then he looked at the fox fairy and asked, "You said I have bad luck? Is it true? You couldn't be making it up." "Bah, I won't make it up. I've seen it. You are a bad person, and you are filled with the resentment of evil spirits. Under normal circumstances, you should have died a long time ago. Even if you didn't die, you would have bad luck all your life. Even if you add some luck has long been offset." The word blood conveys the emotion of anger. She seemed to feel that Shen Jian was looking down on her, which made her very angry. "You can observe luck? No, you can directly see other people's luck," Shen Jian said in surprise. Because what Fox Fairy said was his true situation. He possesses 6 dragon energy, and his luck value is end max, but except for the time in the cathedral, his luck effect has never taken effect again. The so-called lucky max is the same as nothing. But now, he seemed to know the reason. He had killed too many ghosts and had too much resentment. Under normal circumstances, this kind of person who is ridden with resentment has a rough fate. There is a high probability of dying young and dying early. But because of his status as the king of hell, it was difficult for him to get into trouble. Then, early death becomes bad luck. But if he had not become the lord of the underworld, it would be difficult for him to be tainted with such great resentment, and he would not have such a destiny. After all, this status quo was also his choice. How strange! No way, no way, there are people who are so clueless, don't they know how unlucky they are? The word blood appears. There is a bit of yin and yang in the text. You can see that the fox fairy's tail is raised. Shen Jian. He sighed. As for the steel rod, I smashed it down. The fierce ghost is unwise and deliberately punches. What should I do if I don't obey? It's very simple, just 1 beating is enough, if not, just 2. There's nothing that boxing can't fix. You bastard, I will not let you go. I will make you have bad luck again and again. You will have to step on watermelon rinds when you walk. Moment. The fox fairy's head exploded and he screamed, "Whoa, yeah, okay. Shen Jian stopped. He curled his lips and said, "Can you speak well now?" Ghost Hand nodded wildly. The fox fairy in the reflection also nodded like a chicken, and the 6 fox tails behind him also nodded up and down. "See this?" Shen Jian asked, "Your supernatural power is to see other people's luck. What else can you see? The fox fairy pursed her lips and said reluctantly, you can also see vague luck events. Luck incident. Yes, just like the muscular man over there. I can see a very obvious luck line on his head. If I look deeper, I can see that it is a place of death for ghosts and gods. Hear this. The muscular ghost hiding in the corner was delighted at first, and then his expression changed drastically. What the hell, the treasure he mentioned, is it still his treasure? He didn't have the confidence to compete with Shenjian. Shenjian was also thoughtful. This supernatural power is almost like seizing opportunity. No wonder the fox fairy is so popular, this is a treasure-hunting fox. Instantly, Shenjian seemed to have thought of something. He raised his eyebrows and said, can you see my luck line? The fox fairy's little face tightened, and she shook her tail in disdain and said, do you really not know how unlucky you are? No. Yes, and there are many. Shenjian was stunned. This seems to be unlucky for the fox fairy. He is already unlucky, but he still has luck. Didn't you say that I have bad luck? Yes, you do have a lot of bad luck. There is no such thing as luck at all, but you know how to rob, and you robbed a lot. Shenjian. Group of ghosts. These words are so on point. This man is unlucky, but that doesn't mean he can't get anything, because he can still steal other people's. If you grab it, it will naturally be your own luck. If other people's luck is innate and fixed, then this man's luck is acquired and random. The reason why it is random is naturally because wherever he goes, he grabs everything. Is there anything related to the golden dragon energy? Shenjian asked his question. The fox fairy looked at it for a few times and gave the correct answer. The words in blood appeared, yes, there are 3 places. The 2 closest to you are here. You robbed them from others. Both times they were robbed. You also, it's so shameless. Shenjian paused slightly. Twice. There is not just 1 clue to dragon energy here, but 2. Could it be that the dragon energy he searched for before entering the Qing Kingdom dungeon for the 2nd time was not the one belonging to the royal family, but a clue to the last dragon energy also located in Qing Kingdom? You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Buletin Chigua. Chapter 723. Len Buting heard that the last clue of dragon energy also appeared in Kingguo. Even Shenjian couldn't help but show a bit of excitement. Today, he carries 6 dragon auras on his body. Among the remaining 3, 1 is already negotiating with the glorious ghosts and gods, 1 is in the Kingguo royal family, and there is no trace of the last one. Shenjian originally thought that after this dungeon, he would search for clues about the last dragon energy through the authority of Zhouzhou Yintian Palace, but he never thought that this dragon energy was also in Kingguo. Looking at it this way, this should also be a well-written one. After all, if the dragon energy had no owner, then when he killed Prince Li and harvested the people's hearts, this dragon energy should have been affected by the people's will and automatically appeared around him. If it doesn't appear, it means it has an owner. Think of this. There was a smile deep in Shenjian's eyes. So far, the 9 dragon spirits that had divided the Qing kingdom finally appeared one by one. He is one step closer to gathering the authority of Zhouzhou Yintian Palace and unlocking the Azura Path, one of the 6 paths of reincarnation. Immediately, Shenjian suppressed his excitement and asked, where is the nearest one? Fox Fairy's little face wrinkled and said, in Hutu Mountain in Feiyo City. According to the news I have seen, you will see a guest at the banquet carrying this kind of dragon energy at a banquet 5 days later. So the next day, you went to destroy the entire enemy's village. Group of ghosts. Gilul. Hear this. The three people on the field were frightened. Because you fell in love with someone else's good things, so you rushed overnight to kill the other person's whole family? Oh no, Kwanzai. Damn it. You are a professional killer, right? No wonder you are stained with the resentment of 500,000 ghosts. At your speed of killing people, it is really possible to do this on horseback. What kind of little master of killing families, Gan? Will something happen if we wait? For a moment, the three ghosts on the scene fell into extreme panic. Shen Jian's appearance only felt more and more disgusting. Just like a devil. The other side. Shen Jian frowned slightly. 5 days later? Attend banquet? Why would he participate in such a thing? Although he did mingle with the evil spirits, under normal circumstances, he would not attend such a worthless banquet. After all, in public, a group of white ghosts were walking beside him, but he couldn't catch them. This feeling was too uncomfortable. The only thing Shen Jian could think of was that this banquet would be good for him. Think about it? Shen Jian asked again, can you see who it is? Fox Fairy shook his head, no, I can only see a rough idea of the causes and consequences, but the rest is hazy and nothing can be shown. Shen Jian nodded slightly. It feels normal. If you can even see this, then it is not about luck, but a prediction of the future that is even more incredible than parchment. How could such a supernatural being appear in a ghost-level fox fairy? But even so, the fox fairy's supernatural powers are truly outstanding. Coupled with the detailed prediction of the text content on the parchment, it can be regarded as omniscient in a sense. Got this figured out? Shen Jian stood up and released the black steel rod from Gui's hand. As soon as he broke free, the reflected six-tailed fox fairy quickly distanced himself and looked at Shen Jian warily. Shen Jian is not annoyed either. Instead, he said with great interest, did you just want to suck blood? Is it because no one can meet the conditions for calling you from the beginning to the end, so you have been unable to come here, so you have an abnormal desire for ghost blood? How do you know? The words dripping with blood tell the fear of the six-tailed fox fairy. But you didn't guess it right. I was attracted by the blood of the world-destroying ghosts and gods. If it weren't for this level of ghost blood, just your mixed blood mixed with low-level ghost kings, I would rather be hungry than won't come out. 3 muscular ghosts. Shit. They are the top ghost kings, and they are the top ghost kings who are infinitely close to ghosts and gods, but they are actually judged to be pure blood. This is so humming bad. If they couldn't beat him, they would have to give this fox fairy a few blows. Let her know what it means to respect people. As for Shen Jian, the corners of his mouth curled up. Quite principled. This is just like those women who clamor to never marry unless they are perfect men. Most of these women are just daydreaming, but this fox fairy is different. She really has this kind of capital. If you want to call her, you must have a bucket of the blood of ghosts and gods, and it must not be mixed with the blood of ghosts and gods below, plus a ghost-level ghost hand. It can be said that apart from him, the only person in the entire Qing kingdom who has the blood of the Qing emperor is Fu. Afford this price. But before knowing the true value of the fox fairy, who would have the courage to find 10 ghosts and gods at once and let them bleed? And he had to cut off the hand of a ghost. If one thing is not done well, even the emperor of Qing will have a headache for a while. Thought for a moment. Shen Jian forced out a drop of glowing blood with his finger. His blood was no longer normal human blood. Although it was still bright red, no matter how you looked at it, his blood shone with a grayish sheen. See this drop of blood? The fox fairy's eyes immediately straightened. The ghost hand subconsciously crawled over and grabbed Shen Jian's trousers, writing one line after another in blood. Give me. I want. What delicious blood. Please, give me a taste. The fox fairy begged obsessively, as if unable to move. Only the blood in Shen Jian's hands remained in his eyes. See this. Shen Jian casually threw down the blood beads. The fox fairy in the reflection immediately jumped up, opened his fangs, and swallowed the blood in one gulp. Just for a moment. A cry came from her mouth. His whole body felt numb, and even his ghost hands lay limp and his fingers were paralyzed on the ground, as if he was feeling the flush in his back. I want more. The words of blood rose out of thin air and dripped in front of Shen Jian. At the same time, the fox fairy grabbed Shen Jian's trousers and tried to climb up. He looked like he wanted to enjoy it again. You are the first being who has tasted the blood of the king of hell. I think you should understand what I mean. Shen Jian dropped the ghost hand in disgust. Let her crawl underground. Although he doesn't hate hands and has tried combinations of hands, shoes, and bodies, the owner of this hand is a flower demon, and he dislikes it very much. You want me to come with you? The fox fairy struggled to sort out his thoughts. She had not even thought about the drop of blood she had just received, and the only thought in her mind was to ask for more. Then what if I don't want to? She asked tentatively. Then I will take you away by force. The blood of the king of hell is not that delicious, Shen Jian explained with a smile on his face. Fox fairy. She was slightly startled. Some are not tied. Grass. You are not going to let me go. Why are you asking me for my opinion? Just grab it. Are you here to show your democracy? I'll follow you. With a dark look on his face, Fox Fairy still agreed to this semi-forced, semi-voluntary request. Now it's right. Shen Jian was very satisfied. But you need to change your image. I'll throw this hand away later. The words fell. After Shen exercised, a golden hexagonal light wheel appeared. 6 areas are divided into the nimbus. 4 of the areas are inscribed with patterns. This time, the nimbus stopped on the 3rd image. It was a ghost covered in black robes and wearing a mask. It was the commander of the royal spies. And his supernatural power, sinking, can designate any person and manifest a person's greatest ambition out of thin air, and it is real. This supernatural power is already a low-end version of your wish coming true. Think of a body and then walk in that body. Shen Jian said. Fox Fairy reacted quickly. Moment. A white 6-tailed fox that was no bigger than a toy and only reached 1/3 of Shen Jian's calf appeared in front of Shen Jian out of thin air. Immediately afterwards, the ghost hand lost its support and completely lost its breath. The 6-tailed white fox that appeared now opened its peach-colored eyes and climbed onto Shen Jian's shoulder with a loving expression on its face, as if to say, I did as you said, and I still want more. Definitely next time. Shen Jian said casually. Throw the ghost hand back to the blood river hell. Then his eyes fell on the 3 muscular ghosts. Muscle ghost. Sir, oh no, your majesty, we didn't see anything. He flopped down to his knees. Tears burst into tears. Didn't he just want to come here to simply find the inheritance of ghosts and gods, and then simply kill the other participants so that he can take the treasure for himself? What mistake did he make? Why let him go through such cruel things? In the face of a being who can imprison 4 ghosts and gods and subdue the ghost god level fox fairy, any conspiracy or trick will be of no use. The only way is to beg for mercy. Can't you beg for mercy? Then what else can you do if you wait to die? At worst, he will start his life again in 100 years. But if you resist and are imprisoned in that scorching ghost space for torture, then everything will be over. See this. Shen Jian pondered for a moment. Go and report outside. Someone will help you join the organization and work hard. What he said is naturally the just order. Today's righteous order is too weak. They are all a group of powerful ghosts below the top ghost kings. It just so happens that these 3 top ghost kings who are infinitely close to ghosts and gods can join in to integrate the overall camp. For him, this righteous order will still be useful in the future. Say it. Shen Jian walked out. Outside the door, the one-armed ghost and the one-eyed ghost guarded dutifully. Seeing Shen Jian coming out, the two of them were shocked. Master Shen, have you collected the evidence against King Pingnan? The two looked expectant. The biggest purpose of this trip is to collect evidence that King Pingnan massacred Xuanjiao City, which is the real image seen by the Fox Fairy. Without this, it would be a dream to try King Pingnan with Emperor Qing's death guarantee. They would have to mobilize the power of the entire court to allow the eldest princess to fight against the emperor of a country. You will ask yourselves later. Shen Jian waved his hand. He pointed at the little six-tailed white fox on his shoulder with two small paws holding the collar and peach-colored beast eyes. One-armed ghost? What is this riding horse? And these three people, take them back and train them to bring them into a righteous order. The words fell. The three muscle ghosts walked out in high spirits. With a naive smile on his face, he shook the hands of the one-armed ghost and the one-eyed ghost, as if they were one of our own, one of our own. One-armed ghost? Damn it! What happened inside? Something strange is coming? Fortunately, I am the king of hell of the 10th palace. Author, Shi Yu Buletin Chi Gua. Chapter 724. It was 3 days before we returned to the Qingguo imperial capital again. Zhenhou Mansion. Princess Milan concealed her whereabouts and appeared in the study. At this time, inside the room, Shen Jian was teasing the six-tailed fox fairy in his hand. This ghost-level fox spirit seems to have followed the fox's style to a certain extent, and its animal appearance is very obvious. Shen Jian once asked the other party why she didn't turn into a human being, and she said that she was originally like this. This situation is indeed different from ordinary ghosts. Although there are a lot of fox fairies, to a certain extent, the rarity of fox fairies can be compared with a special species like the snow girl. None of them are pure ghosts. Rather, it is closer to the category of special life forms. It's just that under the corrosive environment of the horror world, it was stained with the sign of a fierce ghost. Looking at you, you should be fine, but what is this little thing? Seeing that Shen Jian was fine, Her Royal Highness the Princess also returned to her usual majestic gaze. Her eyes fell on the Fox Fairy, seemingly thoughtful. Fox Fairy, after all, it should be considered the source of Fox Fairy. Shen Jian said casually. Really? Princess Milan understood. The only person who can bring Shen Jian here is the key person in this matter. What she didn't expect was that this white fox, which was about the size of a puppy, would actually be a source ghost. No matter what kind of source ghost it is, as long as it is the source, the level of terror will not be lower than that of ghosts and gods. In other words, this white fox who looks cute, licking Shen Jian's fingers affectionately, is a frightening ghost and god. If you take her lightly and say she is harmless, you will definitely regret it. But then I thought about it. Compared to being able to turn a terrifying ghost into a pet that can be teased at will, Shen Jian is even more unfathomable. Speaking of which, it seemed that she didn't know how strong Shen Jian was until now. She only knew that Shen Jian had the ability to break into Prince Li's mansion and capture him alive, he had the ability to force back a ghost-level royal guard leader at the execution site, and he had the ability to kill a ghost-level royal spy leader at the ghost theater. Ability. Whenever she felt that Shen Jian's ability had reached its limit, he would bring new surprises, and the upper limit of his strength would also be raised little by little. Now, he actually subdued another ghost-level fox fairy. Force retreat, kill, and conquer, these 3 points are each more difficult than the last. To force a ghost and god back can only be said to have the strength of a ghost and god. After killing a ghost and god, the gap in strength between the two has widened. To subdue a ghost and god, it can only be said that the two are no longer on the same level. Not on the same level as ghosts and gods, could it be possible? Her Royal Highness the Princess's heart was in turmoil. This guess of mine feels unbelievable, but when I think about it carefully, it seems normal. Moment. She came to her senses. Zhuangzi said, "Is it done?" What she was referring to was, of course, the collection of evidence against King Pingnan. A copy has been made. Shen Jian casually showed an image. In the image, corpses were strewn all over the place, and the city was covered with corpses, dyeing the whole city blood red. The smell of blood seemed to be transmitted through the screen. One can imagine what a tragic scene it was. In the image, you can clearly see a group of soldiers wearing black iron armor slaughtering the people in the city. Under the city gate, a large number of people gathered, trying to escape from this hell, but they were ruthlessly blocked inside the city gate. A strong and ruthless general with a claw mark under his right eye gave the order to massacre very decisively. It's him, it's really King Pingnan. If the facts weren't in front of me, I wouldn't believe it now. Seeing this figure, Princess Milan murmured something. His expression was somewhat complicated. Seeing the confusion on Shen Jian's face, she took the initiative to explain, "King Pingnan is my fourth uncle, and Prince Li is my second uncle. After my father successfully ascended the throne, he did not choose to attack the prince who had competed with him for the throne. It is to fully trust them and allow them to participate in government affairs and hold military power. Because of this matter, the Prime Minister and some civil servants of the time also proposed that the father should restrain them to prevent these princes from supporting their own troops, cultivating party members, and having undesirable thoughts. However, the father said that he trusted them and rejected these ideas." Memorial. Now it seems that it's not that my father trusts them, but that they have reached some kind of agreement. After listening, Shen Jian nodded slightly. Apart from this, there seems to be no other reason. But what kind of agreement can allow these princes, who are supposed to support the royal family and maintain the stability of the Qing kingdom, to collectively choose to harm the people of the Qing kingdom and painstakingly disintegrate the rule of the Qing kingdom? Even the emperor of Qing was involved. No matter in the past dynasties, this is an unimaginable and shocking thing. "Your Highness, what are you going to do?" Shen Jian asked. Princess Milan said very decisively, "This image cannot be made public for the time being. Once it is made public, it means that the situation in Qing Kingdom will completely collapse and chaos will fall directly. At that time, the people of Qing Kingdom will be panicked, especially my father. No one knows what he will do then. The top priority is to win over the court officials in the court. Only by reaching a consensus with these people can we stabilize the disintegrated situation to the greatest extent. Among them, the Prime Minister and the 6 ministers are the key. If you win over these people, the court will not be in chaos, and there will be military commanders." Speaking of which, Her Royal Highness the Princess showed some hesitation in her eyes. Because the leader of the generals is none other than King Pingnan. She couldn't guarantee how many of the generals had boarded King Pingnan's pirate ship. Can those other generals still be trusted and won over? At this point, even she wasn't sure. Thinking, Her Royal Highness the Princess wrote several names on the paper. The Ministry of Officials and the Ministry of Punishment. Ministry of War? The Ministry of Household Affairs, the Ministry of Rights, and the Ministry of Industry. No one knows that the Minister of Civil Affairs is the one who supports me. Although the Ministry of Punishment does not explicitly support me, it also shows that it is optimistic, but it is still wavering. The Ministry of War, I'm not sure whether it was infiltrated by King Pingnan or others. As for the Ministry of Household Affairs, the Ministry of Rights, and the Ministry of Industry, according to my investigation, they support the Crown Prince, the 13th Prince, and the 3rd Prince respectively. Princess Milan revealed her current bargaining chip. He looked very focused. There is also a current Prime Minister who has not clearly stated who he supports, but if he can get his support, many wavering factions will make up their minds. I once sent someone to contact this Prime Minister, but unfortunately the other party did not appreciate it and was very polite. Cautious, only showing intention to join, but never making a decision. Hear this. Shen Jian remembered that the father of the minister's wife was the prime minister of the dynasty. On the night when he rescued the vice minister's wife and the vice minister's officer and was about to leave the dungeon, he was invited by the prime minister to attend a family dinner at the prime minister's home. He was somewhat impressed by this prime minister. Thinking. The eldest princess continued, but this time, I am certain that the prime minister will join my camp. Speaking of which, this is also your credit. Me, Shen Jian was startled. Yes, when you tried to clear the suspicion of the vice minister's wife and the vice minister, I sent someone to contact the prime minister and told him that I was cooperating with you to rescue his daughter and son-in-law, and let him give him some help at the necessary moment. Assistance. Because of this, the prime minister's attitude towards me has become much more inclined now. Give me some time, and I will be sure to win over him. The eldest princess nodded. Shen Jian was also a little emotional. What else did the eldest princess do when he didn't know? He's so capable. This step had been conceived and acted upon many months ago. And the power standing behind her cannot be underestimated. 2 of the 6 can be used more or less by her, and some of the Yaoshan can also be used. If coupled with the support of the Prime Minister of the dynasty, there is basically no one in the court who can compete with her for the position of Crown Prince. Certainly. The premise is that she is a prince. However, in reality, she was the eldest daughter of the emperor and a princess. Even with the support of the Ministry of Personnel and the Ministry of Punishment, plus a prime minister, it was not enough to resist the pressure from the entire Qing kingdom. She still needs more foundation. What do you need me to do? Shen Jian asked. If I said that I wanted you to contact the prime minister, wouldn't you be happy? Hear this. Shen Jian raised his eyebrows slightly. Then he reacted. If he went to the prime minister's mansion, it would be impossible for him not to meet the minister's wife. The eldest princess's favorable impression of him has reached over 80 points, and she has entered the stage of intimacy. No matter from any aspect, I don't want the man I like to go to another woman. Not to mention, this woman clearly has an intimate relationship with the man she likes. Think of this. Shen Jian reached out to grab the eldest princess and pulled gently. A soft and delicate body was already pressed against his body. Shen Jian hugged the eldest princess from behind, kissed her jade neck, and said, "In my heart, Your Highness, you are the princess worthy of the knight's protection." His face didn't turn red, his heart didn't beat, and his expression looked extremely serious. Of course he knew that Her Royal Highness the Princess would not believe his words, but, what does it matter? He has learned that Her Royal Highness the Princess is very generous about this kind of thing. Although she cares about it, it is not to the point where she cannot get along with other women. She has the qualifications of a big woman. Perhaps it was because of Emperor Qing's influence, or perhaps because she saw the current situation in the harem and the situation in the families of the civil servants and officials. In short, the eldest princess did not feel that it was unacceptable in this regard. Or maybe it's something that's become routine. In this case, any hypocritical words will only lower the other person's evaluation of yourself and make the other person feel that he is no different from other men. He just needs to let the eldest princess know that she is the most important one. Hear this. Princess Milan glared at Shen Jian angrily. Cheeks slightly pink. Everywhere that had been kissed had a unique pink color, which looked really moving. You are quite thick-skinned. If you were an ordinary person, you would have promised yourself that you would cut off contact with other women. Your Highness, do you want me to lie to you? I can abandon other women for you today, and I can abandon you, Your Highness, for other women tomorrow. Crooked, Anthracene. Princess Milan was lying on her side in Shen Jian's arms, her face becoming more and more rosy. She stretched out her hand to touch Shen Jian's handsome face, and placed her other hand on Shen Jian's chest. Her movements seemed very ambiguous. His eyes were a little confused and he said, "We are discussing business." The corners of Shen Jian's lips curled up. "Isn't what we are doing now business?"